Hello everyone, and welcome back to Victoria 3 and our Imperial Austria campaign, where we have recently taken Mecklenburg, and in addition we have taken Brandenburg and Silesia off of the Prussians, who are still embroiled in a never-ending peasant revolt. So, good luck to them, I guess. It'll end one day, maybe. We have tried to end our discriminatory practices, and, first time around didn't do so hot, so it was only a 20% chance. And we had an event, basically we had to give up some authority, which is fine, in order to get a 15% better chance for the second time around. The issue is it's going to be 1,000 days because our legitimacy is just piss poor. So if we try and optimize this, the rural folk make it worse, the armed forces make it worse, Catholic Church makes it worse, as does losing the intelligentsia and losing the industrialists. So 19 legitimacy is the very best that we can get unless we lower our taxes, which we can't do because we're only at a plus 13.3, our gold reserves are tiny at 3.3 million, and we'd be losing 60,000 for 5 legitimacy additionally. We do have a couple very nice pieces of news though, and that means several rubber rushes in the colonies, which means, well, that's a lot of which means, but we can get, finally, some rubber plantations going. We don't need these for a little while, but let's just go ahead and build them up as much as possible, and my hope is that we might be able to get some better taxation going once we have expanded our livestock ranches, once we've fully incorporated Brandenburg and Silesia, which are still about 3 years away, I'd say. That was for Brandenburg. Mecklenburg is 4 years, and Silesia also 4 years. But once they're incorporated, they'll start paying taxes, and that means more money for the state, which is, of course, why I despise taxes. But anyway, I am the state this time around. It's fine. Give me all of your money. Why do you need any of it? It should be mine. Oh, man. I swear, sometimes this game is very fun. But, alright. In terms of the situation in Europe, there are some complications. Bavaria has entered a defensive pact with France, but Bavaria would have been a natural next inclusion for us because the iron mines and logging camps aren't great, but just the location and the glassworks, food industries, all of this would have been very nice. Moreover, it would be very aesthetically pleasing to have this sort of rounded out instead of the current outline of Bohemia that you can still see in this area. So a little bit less than ideal there, but we aren't going to be building any more construction. We're going to be trying to get our economy more in the green so we can lower taxes down a bit, and then wait for an opportune moment to strike with ever more ready armed forces. Of course, we are researching breech-loading artillery. My hope is that we can jump up ahead of the French in terms of military technology and make that fight a lot easier. The French have 263 battalions to our 281, and this is what makes it really risky. So the Russians have 355, but we can't get them on side, and even if we did, their troops probably suck. But the British and the French, if they were to both intervene on the behalf of some of the Germans, for example, if we attack into Bavaria, France is automatically in, and then Great Britain decides, you know what, these Austrians need a nice ass-kicking, then there'd be no way we could fight that right now. We don't have the troops, we don't have the quality. So those are our immediate goals. The increase to 30,000 is very nice. It looks like our investment pool is up about 5k from the last time I checked, but we're just getting a bit more in income tax and a bit more in poll tax. Of course, income tax will shoot up as we improve quality of living and bring people out of subsistence farming. That's the whole goal right now, and these things go by pretty quickly. It looks like 8 weeks, well no, 10? Interesting. Maybe it depends on where we are, but it certainly will be very helpful to bring people up and out of poverty. We do need a couple other things for that though. If we take a look at our market, glass is always expensive, but clothes are actively decreasing our citizens' quality of life. In addition, we kind of need more silk to feed that, and more dyes and sugars as well. These we can build in the colonies, but it's always the thing I found whenever you take the time to build plantations and bring people off of subsistence, it's time that's not spent solving other problems. We do have an event, questionable practices. Released patients from the Vienna asylum have steadily denounced the practices involved in their supposedly medical treatments. Mistreatment of the sick, withholding of personal letters, and disproportionate punishments were among the charges. So this will piss off the Catholics, or we can pay money. Let's piss off the Catholics. I don't care. If that pushes them a little closer to revolution, fine, so be it. We would take them out. Anyway, it looks like right now they'd get, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 85, 90, 100, So they get 105 troops, we'd have almost 200 to crush them with, and we'd have our better generals, I think, because Radetzky... So we'd lose Radetzky, and the defensive strategist would suck to lose. Okay, we'd also lose... Alright, we'd lose a lot of our good generals. Shit. That's not great, but at least this guy's pretty nice. Level Nugent von Westmeath, I guess. Sure. And we also have Windisch Graz, who is very good. Stingby and Danubia, they're not in the right locations. But let's try and get another general for South Germany, which includes, of course, Austria proper, who doesn't belong to a rebellious group. Yeah, no, still just horrible options. That's a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. Sometimes you get good rolls there, sometimes you don't, and I've hired and fired dozens before just to get through to people with good traits. It's a little expensive in terms of bureaucracy, and it also pisses people off, so maybe I'll do that when we're not threatening... Ooh, no, third group. Third group is the Petit Bourgeois. What happened? What changed that made the Petit Bourgeois go against us? Can I even see them? Oh, come on. I think they're marginalized. Yeah, they're a marginalized group, I think. Yeah, oh well. What really sucks is that we could be, instead of doing this, we could be doing a fair number of things, decent enactment chances. And look at that, 33% chance for Presidential Republic, or Parliamentary Republic, very nice. We might do that next. It would guarantee a revolution. But at this point I'm not sure I really care. I mean, yeah, there's a lot that we could do here. Free trade, private schools, migration controls aren't that important, but what's our current voting laws? Do we have voting laws? No home affairs. Oh, come on, where's voting? Always forgets. Legal guardianship. It's not here, that's separation of church and state. Ah, right, distribution of power. Yeah, we should probably get away from autocracy, and definitely could have passed wealth voting, or landing voting has no opposition. That's probably the way to go after this, just because it would shift things in our government pretty decently. But what are they voting for? It's an autocracy. I don't know what they're voting for. I think the political situation was actually a bit more clear in Crusader Kings 2 than it is in Crusader Kings 3, which... a couple things were, I think. It was interesting. When you had revolts, so when you have revolts now in Crusader Kings 3, states get divvied up according to which interest group has the most influence, which is why if there was a revolution, we'd lose all of those states. But in not Crusader Kings, geez, in Victoria 2, what would happen is individual pops would rebel. So your armed forces would be made up of individuals, and it still is. It's made up of populations from these different states. But each individual's ideology was tracked, and they would decide whether or not to rebel. It was almost on I think it was on a division level, so per 1,000 men, instead of just the entire state goes. Because if we look at, for example, Transdanubia and the population, well, there's a fair mix here. There's a fair amount in the upper strata, 67,000, but there's 2.38 million in the lower strata there, and they're certainly not part of the aristocracy. So why is the state controlled by them? Right? That doesn't really make all that much sense when you think about it. It's kind of strange. So I don't know. It's a little weird, but sometimes you just got to deal with what you got. I am kind of liking this though. Our livestock ranches have been leading to very much an increase in income tax, and that has balanced our budget quite nicely. If we can keep on top of a couple things, like for example building more clothes and getting a bit more steel even, we might be able to decrease our taxes, which will certainly even things out. And I think that's necessary before we keep going with making a larger military even. It's unfortunate we can't do it faster. This is sort of the catch-22 of, well, I have some money now. If I was to spend more of it, then I could build up faster and get more money quicker. But I'm also not increasing my reserves while doing that. I think we actually have enough space. Let's go down to high taxes. and see what we can do to get ourselves in the green at high, because that'll decrease some radicals. It'll also decrease the multiplier for the increase in radicals based off of change of standard of living. Both of those are good. And we'll basically try to shimmy our way down the taxes tree away from the higher taxes. We also got 5 legitimacy from that too, so that directly sped up the rate where we can enact racial segregation. Jeez. The fact that this is a reform just always boggles my mind. I don't know. It is what it is. For those of you who've been around from the start, you will recall that I also mentioned we need to fix our admiral's situation because naval invasions are so good in this game, but I don't think we can afford the expense right now, particularly not the expense to make it worthwhile, where we'd need to outfight individual flotillas from France. So we'd need one group with 40 or more, possibly several, and we would need to potentially have better naval technology than they do, which if we take a look at that right now, going into military, we don't have gantry cranes, we don't have ironclads, and both of those would probably be necessary in order to get the naval edge. We could focus on that instead of going into early trench works, particularly because 8 years is a huge investment, and I am sympathetic to that argument. Alternatively, we could get into electricity. Electricity is a big disturbance. Whenever I've tried doing this, which admittedly is not that many times, it upends your entire economy, basically. And even when you build power plants, it still upends your economy for quite a while until you get things sort of more leveled out, which, I mean, that could be a very hard thing for us. It's going to be difficult to manage. Is it worthwhile? Yes. But easy? No. So I think I don't want to go the electricity route until we've handled racial segregation finally, until we've become Austro-Hungary and dealt with the threat of revolution. So these clothing factories will be done soon, and so will our furniture factories, which means the next thing on our docket, I think, will be glass. What feeds into that too? Is that expensive as well? If we take a look here, glassworks, lead, and dyes. Dyes are getting expensive. Actually, we might be better off doing some dyes and silk. You know, let's keep it in the resources. Let's make our base a little bit cheaper before we keep expanding. And we can build more of these in Silesia. So let's get our sulfur under control. And then we need some sugar. So let's get sugar plantations on the move in South Cameroon. Well, do I want that? Yeah, South Cameroon's by far our largest colony. Let's get 20 there. I want sugar to be cheap for our people so that they can buy as much as they want and increase that quality of life number. So much the better. Would be good to get steel after that, but I think we need dyes first, so let's do that. And dyes will be in Niger Delta. We already have a huge factory there, and we have the space for it, so that will be good. And that'll ride for a little bit. There's 54 in the production queue, which is a pretty good number. Okay, so not a ton going on geopolitically today, but our colonies have continued to go. We do now have competition from the French in Loango, which is not ideal, but it looks like Pao Pao is still mostly us, and these rates are not bad. So our ruler, as much as he is annoying in terms of our infamy, he is encouraging the growth of our colonies, and that's something that is extraordinarily helpful. So can't really thank him more for that. And let's see, we are still colonizing here. I might not want that. I might just say we're good here. That way we can get more of a focus in Pao Pao. Patagonia. No, we need that in Patagonia. So that's all we've got for you guys today. Thank you all for hanging around, and we'll see you again real soon.